Good morning, everyone. Welcome to your Skip TV. Today we have a special guest with us. Who is here to share her insights of getting a job, or changing the job, or finding more ways to make more money. So let's welcome Miss Catherine Breet.
Yes.
We call him Cat Breet. That's her name on the LinkedIn and other places. So welcome to Skip TV. How are you today?
Thank you, Srinivas. Good morning, and really happy to be here with you.
You're welcome. Thank you. So, yeah, can you tell us a little bit before we go to the topic? I would like to hear more from you about yourself. That will help us to understand and then go the direction in which we'll be going.
Yes. Like Srinivas, I started my career in high tech. I started out as an IT recruiter and salesperson and manager in the IT consulting world, working for global consulting firms. And then I launched my own business 14 years ago. And that's what I've been up to for 14 years. So I'm an author, speaker, consultant, and I do coach. I have group coaching programs for consultants to help them get more money, freedom, and fun out of their career. And we also have a program for job seekers as well.
That's very nice. Okay. So, I want to start with a few basic points. Many people do look for, even after many experience, many years of experience, they look for the jobs or change the jobs. So, why don't we talk about a fresher today in this pandemic? There are no, job fairs, or there is no recruiting events. So people have to connect with the recruiters or the employers on the LinkedIn or online. So it's becoming a little tough. I've been talking to a few moms, or when I walk on the street, when I walk my dog, and they say that, yes, my son applied for internship, and they had two rounds of interviews, but he didn't hear anything back from them. Those kind of things. Another girl from North Carolina, the friend, daughter of my friend. She has done her master's and then still looking for getting her first job. Those kind of situations are there. So we'd like to hear your inputs or insights on to help the freshers to get a job in this environment.
Yeah, so first of all, let me acknowledge to all of you that need a job right now. I feel your pain. It is a tough market, and I just want to acknowledge that. I never want to gloss over that because you can get a lot of people saying you can do it without acknowledging it, that it's a tough market. That being said, there are companies hiring right now. And so the real answer is you have to do a better job than your competitors of connecting to the recruiters and the hiring managers. So let's talk about that. I think you wanted to start with entry level right out of college. Number one, congratulations. It's hard work getting through school. So congratulations. You will find a job. Like Srinivas, I've been in this industry for over 20 years. This is my fifth recession and tight job market, and everybody found jobs. The question is, how soon, and will it be a job that you really want? So a couple of thoughts for you on what to do. First of all, one of the biggest mistakes that job seekers make, whether they're going for full-time or even contract and consulting jobs, is they hit the internet, they write a resume, they hit the internet, and they start looking for jobs without stopping to really figure out what they want. And so, in other words, they don't have a very clear job target. And if you don't have a clear job target, you are going to be wasting your time chasing all sorts of things that A, you're not really interested in, and B, you're not qualified for. So my answer is twofold. First of all, you have to do the hard work to figure out realistically, what do I want? What am I qualified for? And then secondly, you can get a job by applying online. Millions of people do it, but it's the hardest way to get a job. And I sat on the hiring side of the desk. I used job boards as a recruiter for years. You have a 12% chance of getting a job by applying online. So if you're a new college grad and you feel like you're never going to get a job, nobody wants you, and you've only been applying online, that's why. So the alternative is to get jobs the good old-fashioned way, and that is pretend you live in a world where there aren't job boards. How did people get jobs? talking to their neighbors, talking to their friends, talking to Srinivas on the street when he's walking his dog. Talk to everybody you know. Srinivas mentioned LinkedIn. I have to tell, when I started recruiting, it was a telephone and a desk. LinkedIn came out 15 years ago, and I couldn't believe it. Right there at your fingertips. You have people's job titles, companies' names. You can reach out to them. You can use mutual connections to ask for introductions. Connect, 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 connect. And so job hunting is a numbers game. That's my third point. If you are not getting interviews and you're not getting job offers, you need to increase your activity. And if you double your activity, reaching out to people, you will get hired in half the time. So that's my quick and dirty how-to. How is
That's
that?
very nice. I mean, that's good point. Getting into the LinkedIn and can connected to the people. And another point I would like to share. Add to the thing is what I observed is most of the times. Freshers are being recruited on the new technologies. Being coming from the IT background, I've seen whenever you get a new technology. In new technologies, freshers are easy because they're competing with the same level skill set. So probably that's another thing we probably can add on to that. And you mentioned about the networking. Can you elaborate a little more? I'm a fresher. It will be challenging for them to who to look for. If I'm in the business, in the job for a minute, I know who is the decision maker or who will be hiring and who should I look for in LinkedIn. Those kind of things I may be aware of a little bit. But a fresher, I don't know where to start and who to connect with and what to say. Those kind of things, if you can help them out, that'll be great, please.
Absolutely. And so a couple of thoughts for you that, first of all, back to what I said a little earlier, the biggest mistake and the most important thing for you to do is to get very clear. What job do you want to do? What job and what are companies calling that job? So if you're a Java developer, it's fairly easy, Java developer. If you're an SAP systems business analyst, it's pretty straightforward. Most companies will call you an SAP systems business analyst. But if you are looking for a job as a marketing coordinator or marketing manager, those job titles might be something different. Let's take, for example, customer success. If you're attracted to the industry of customer success, that job title might be customer success. It might be account management. It might be relationship management. So you really need to figure out what you want and then go do some market research. And LinkedIn is a beautiful place to do it. Literally do a keyword search. Go into the search and put in systems analyst and then see who comes up, what companies come up, what jobs come up. So there are two wonderful places for you to do research to understand what your smartest target job, companies, and industries is. It's LinkedIn and Indeed.com, which is a job board. But I will tell you, out of all the job boards out there, Indeed.com delivers 6 times more interviews than any others. So it's worth it to go out there to Indeed and do some research. If you're in high tech, the best job board for you is Dice. Like roll the dice, dice.com. Srinivas, you and I have been in the business the same amount of time. Dice was one of the very first job boards dedicated to IT professionals. It's a great place to go. So if you get really clear on what you're looking for, then finding the right people to connect with is actually as simple as a keyword search. You just type in the terms for the job you're looking for and find people who are doing that job inside companies. And then you need to get out of your comfort zone and go look for their bosses and start doing a search for CIOs, IT directors, VP of IT if you're in IT. If you're in marketing, same idea, chief marketing officer, and try to connect to those decision makers who have the money and the power and the need to hire you. And then, Srinivas, you found me through my live show, and when COVID hit, my company started doing free live shows very, very early on in March. I did a couple of shows on how to find a job using LinkedIn. So you can go to arbez.com, my website, and look at my past shows, do a search for LinkedIn, and I will give you not just some really great tips on how to do this, but also a link to one of my free guides.
Gotcha. That's very nice. So can you repeat your name of the website you mentioned? Can you spell it if you don't mind, please?
Yes, it is Zebra Backwards. So my company is Zebra Backwards. I am a stripe changer. I help people change their stripes. It is simply www.rbez.com. And then if you just click on barking, because zebras bark. Did you know that? Did you know, Srinivas, that zebras bark?
No, I did not.
Yes. They
Yes, no.
bark when they're talking to their friends. So
Okay.
if you click on barking, you'll find all of my past shows, and you can just do a keyword search for LinkedIn. I've got one on video interviewing, all sorts of wonderful tips and tools for you.
And I know the each zebra is a different pattern. I mean, that much I know. I mean, not that I didn't know about the zebra talking or barking. That's good to know that this particular point. I mean, we'll keep it in mind and use it somewhere else. So coming back to the freshers, so what exactly, I mean, will it be helpful for them to into making the resume, or having different skills, or I mean, see, everybody, if you come out of college, most of the times I'm sure you've seen many resumes in your life of a fresher. They all look same. So what should they? Yeah, that's it. What should they do? Separate or to make their resume stand out when they apply for a job?
Such a great question. And as you can imagine, as a recruiter and selling consultants for years, I spent so many hours rewriting resumes because let's just be honest. If you're writing your own resume, it's really difficult. Here are a couple of my best tricks for writing a resume that will get you noticed and get them to pick up that phone and schedule an interview with you and call you. The first thing, you may not like me, it may sound like a broken record, but it all comes back to that target job. Most people write a resume for their past boss. They sit down and write a resume about everything they used to do. You actually need to write your resume for your future boss or your future client. And so it's a shift in the way you approach it. All of us need to have a master resume. Mine's about 12 pages long. Every job, company, dates, duties, the master resume. But what you need to submit, times have changed. Nobody wants a 5-page resume anymore, not even in IT. You want to, if you're entry level, a 1-page. If you have 10 to 20 years of experience, probably a 2-page. If you have 30 or more years of experience, you can get away with a 3-pager, but no more. So what you need to do is focus on that dream job. What do you really want to be doing? And then I actually have some exercises to help people make a spreadsheet of what are the skills that are required. Pull 5 jobs that your heart says, ooh, I'd love to do that. And literally dump those skills on a spreadsheet and ask yourself really honestly, do I have the skills, experience, certification they're asking for? If I do, great. Make sure it shows up on your resume. If not, get really honest with yourself. Are you really qualified for that job? If you are not, don't waste your time applying online. Srinivas, did you know that 50% of the people that apply online don't even meet the minimum qualifications and they get rejected immediately? It's so discouraging. So make sure you're qualified. And if you don't want to do this by hand, there are some brilliant tools out there. JobScan is one of them, where you can literally test your resume against a job posting. And I highly recommend that. So jobscan.co, great way to go and see if your resume meets the requirements of the job. And then lastly, on the resume, again, something else that's changed, and I think Srinivas, you'll agree with me on this. When we got started, it was very formal, curriculum vitae. My mother calls me Catherine Byers Breet. That's what I am. I'm now CAT BREET. My resume, my LinkedIn profile, my Twitter handle, people want to know that you're human and they want to see a little of your personality come through. So the way to really grab their attention on a resume, I call it above the thumb. So if you grab a piece of paper, everything above your thumb, that's all they're going to read before they decide if they want to know more. And so you need your name, your area of expertise, and then that summary section. Put a little bit of sizzle in it and dare to have get a little sassy. Here's what I mean. Don't tell a bad joke. Don't get really personal, stay professional. But you could say something like, on my last project, I increased revenues by 23% simply by changing the messaging that went out to our customers. Something like that. Metrics and statistics will really make your resume pop to the top of the pile.
Very nice. Very good tips. I mean, not, I mean, you, as you said rightly, I mean, in the first half of the page, I mean, you need to highlight what exactly your strengths are, just like on a video, I mean, or any of the advertisement. I mean, the first few seconds is important. I mean, you need to convey the message immediately in the first few seconds. Otherwise, we'll skip the channel. Just like that, we'll skip the resume to go to the next resume and those kind of things. Like very nice points. Very good. So coming to the another topic, I mean, like another same lines. I mean, once we are in the job, once you get some experience, I mean, you want to, I mean, a growth in the career or change the line or change a different customer. So what kind of how do we do it? I mean, we in the recruiting industry, we call them the passive candidates. But I mean, they have a heart of heart, they want to change, but they're not very serious, they're not actually looking for. But what should they do? They're not confident whether they will be able to get another job or not. So what kind of suggestions do you give it to the people who are looking for a change while they are in the job?
Yes. Well, that's tricky, isn't it? Because you also probably have a dog to walk and kids to feed and other things in your life. It's really difficult, especially right now, let's be honest, during the pandemic. Most people are not only working full-time jobs, but they're juggling all sorts of things and maybe even kids under tow. So for you, here comes the broken record again. It's even more critical that you isolate that target and you figure out, what do you want to do next? And if you're not sure, and that's okay, if you haven't looked for a new job in 10 or 15 years or more, and you don't even know what's possible, there's so many things you can do to try and figure out what it is that you want to do. First of all, do an inventory of what can you do. So the easiest place to start is, what am I doing right now? A lot of people have been in a job for 5 years and they haven't even put down on paper, what's my job title? What are my duties? What have I accomplished? So start by writing down your biggest accomplishments in the last 3 years. You know, those things that you might want to call your mom and say, guess what I did? Or tell your best friend about, your favorite projects, your biggest successes, and write those down. Now, the reason I want you to do that, it gives you about 5 different benefits. The first, it's going to give you some really big clues to what your strongest skills are, and quite frankly, what you love to do. We are at our best at work when we're using our skills and talents and we're enjoying the work. So if you write down 3 or 4 of your latest successes, it's going to remind you, oh my gosh, I really am good enough. I have a lot to offer. Here are my key skills. Here are the things that I brought to that project that made me unique. And you'll start to get that list of what really makes you a highly talented, highly marketable candidate. So you'll get the skills. You'll get clear about what you're good at, what you love to do. And spoiler alert, you're preparing for those future interviews, because they're going to ask you questions like, why should I hire you? Tell me about your proudest moment. Tell me about your biggest failure. So this exercise will boost your confidence. It'll help you figure out what's possible, what are you qualified for, and prepare you to be a knock your socks off candidate when you finally get in front of decision makers. So those are some first tips. And then the second thing to do, it's exactly what Srinivas asked me about earlier, networking. Go out and talk to people who are doing a job that you think you might like to do. Find them on LinkedIn. If Srinivas or I are connected to them as mutual connections, ask us if we'd be willing to introduce you, and then ask them for a 15-minute conversation. Stroke their ego a little bit and say, Srinivas, I see that you just wrote an article about this, or I see that you did this. I would love to learn, how did you get into that? What do you enjoy about it? And if you have any advice for me. Most people will say yes to that. Most people will say no if you reach out and say, I want a new job, can you help me? people freak out. They don't know what to do unless they're like Srinivas and I. Recruiters are not afraid of that. Most other people are intimidated when you say, I need a job, can you help? So don't say that. Just say, I'm really interested in what you do for a living. Do you have 10 minutes to talk? And just start talking to people. And so when you do that, you will get smarter about, do I really want to do that? Am I really qualified? What's it going to take to get me there? And triple bonus, the people that you've been reaching out to will say, oh my gosh, my friend Bonnie Sue needs you. You should talk to her. And so those people you're just having informational conversations with will refer you to their friends who are recruiters and hiring managers.
Very, very nice tip. I mean, very nice way to approach a new person, I mean, who you don't know well. And I want to ask you one thing. As you've been on the sales side and also the recruiting side, so you've seen the customer and also you've seen the candidate. So as a recruiter, what do you see? I mean, what will make you to select a resume and take those resumes to the customer? What do you see in a resume, so which you would like to shortlist and then take it to the customer?
Absolutely. So when I was sitting at my desk as a recruiter, buried, what you need to know about recruiters is they always have 30 or more open jobs on their desk at any time. 30 or more, especially if you're talking with agencies, big companies, 3M, United Health Group, ExxonMobil, those recruiters inside those companies often have 80 or 100 open jobs they're working on, which is crazy. They cannot possibly get to all the jobs in one day. So what happens is they're scanning resumes the same way computers are. They are literally doing a keyword search. In 5 to 7 seconds, they are scanning resumes to see, do you have my minimum qualifications? And the best analogy that I have for you to understand this is, let's pretend that you are shopping for a new house and you want a new house in the next 3 weeks. You do not have time to wait to find your dream house. You need a new house in 3 weeks. You're going to first figure out what your requirements are. When my mother-in-law was moving in with me, we wanted a bigger house and we wanted a 3-car garage. Her car, my husband, and our 2 boys. So 3-car garage in a cul-de-sac in a good school district. Those were my 3 must-haves. And I immediately eliminated thousands of houses that I didn't even consider if they didn't have a 3-car garage, good schools, and a cul-de-sac. Recruiters are doing the same thing. If you don't meet their minimum qualifications, they're never going to read the rest of your resume. So what do you do about this? Well, you can use the tools I talked about earlier, JobScan or one of their competitors, and make sure that your resume will pass the test. And you can probably go from a 12 to a 20% chance of getting a job if you do that. Or you can do what Srinivas is recommending and network and find a human being, a friend or an acquaintance or somebody you just met to introduce you to that recruiter or that hiring manager, and listen to these statistics. 12% by applying online, 40%. So here's what I'm telling you, insider secret. If a recruiter posts a job and they have 300 applicants online and you come in by referral, they will ignore everybody else, pick up the phone and call you first, before they even really look at your resume, because Srinivas said you're a great candidate. They will put you at the top of their list to talk to and interview. So your statistics, your chances of success go from 12% to 40%. Now, what if you get introduced to a hiring manager? Your odds of getting that job go up to 92%. And this is all data from a study by Silk Road Technology. They looked at 13 million candidates and 300,000 hires, 12%, 40%, 92%. So I think my short answer, Srinivas, is if you're going to apply online, you're going to have to worry about that resume a lot. An easier way is to let go of perfect, stop worrying about that, and spend more time talking to people.
Gotcha. Okay. That's a very good tip, I mean, and efficient way to do it. But how is it possible for so many candidates and so only very few hiring managers to get connected on the LinkedIn? I'm sure, you being into the sales cycle also of the business, I mean, most of the hiring managers or the customers, they don't even pick up their desk phones. I
Yes.
mean, we cannot blame them. I mean, we understand. I mean, we have so many people will be calling for many things. So how do a applicant aspirant or an applicant can connect with a hiring manager? I mean, professional salespeople are not able to get to the decision maker sometimes. Most it takes some sales guy to get a meeting to take 1 month or 2 months. So in those scenarios, what are the chances of a applicant getting connected to the right guys?
Yes. So the chances of them, okay, first of all, when you're on your phone and you're on LinkedIn and you see a profile of somebody that you want to talk to, you cannot simply click the connect button. If you simply click that connect button and you let LinkedIn send a message that is cold and impersonal, you are never going to get a response. So you have to personalize your message to whoever you're talking to. And if you aren't willing to do that, not worth trying to reach out to them because they're going to ignore you. Srinivas is absolutely right. Although 44% of the 700 million people on LinkedIn, 44% of them are decision makers, but they are not out there every day like you are as a job seeker or like Srinivas and I are as business owners and salespeople. So a lot of times you might craft a personal message that's wonderful and they simply didn't see it. The average full-time working person is only out on LinkedIn around 14 minutes per month. So how do you get your message through all the noise so that they see it, they click on it, they open it, and they respond to you? Well, here are a couple of tricks. First of all, don't reach out cold. Find somebody to introduce you. That is by far the best way to get a response. And it's not difficult. If you've been on LinkedIn for any amount of time, the magic number to get to is 500 connections. And if you only have 5, don't be intimidated. I promise you, I was intimidated when I first got on LinkedIn 15 years ago. I thought nobody would ever want to connect with me. And I now have over 9,000 connections. So you can get there. If you have a couple hundred connections, you can probably find somebody to introduce you to Renew. If you find Renew is a VP that you want to speak to at a company, and ask for a personal introduction. Sometimes you won't be able to find anybody to make an introduction, and that's okay. Then sometimes also, if you ask Jonah to introduce you to Renew, Jonah might not see your message. So 3 times. Try politely 3 times. If you haven't heard back from them after 1 or 2 attempts on LinkedIn, try email, try a phone call, try if you're connected on Facebook, there's nothing wrong with reaching out to somebody on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or what have you. So try 3 times. And then if you still can't get a response, good old-fashioned phone. Now, those of us over 40 know that people under 30 really never answer the phone or check voicemails. But every now and then people do. So anyway, don't give up so fast. Get introductions when you can. And that message, what should you say? Well, do you want the little insider secrets? You're right, Srinivas. I've been in sales a long time, and the challenge is always, how do I get them to open my message and respond? You have to focus on them. It's all about them. That first message is sort of like you're asking them on a date. What do I mean by that? Forget that you need a job. You have to forget that for the moment. Your first goal is simply to get them to respond to you. And the way to do that is to focus on them. Spend 3 minutes scanning their profile, looking at what they do for a living. If they just got an award as the fastest growing startup in your town, you better know that. And you can speak to that. Reach out and say, congratulations, I see that your company is one of the 50 fastest growing companies in Detroit. That's fantastic. I would love to talk to you about Boom. Or simply, I'd love to connect with you because we're both in the same industry. Focus on them. Do not ask for anything. Srinivas, I know you get messages like I do all day, especially in a market like this. People are desperate. They can see that we can help them. And so they send us messages on LinkedIn and they don't even bother to say, hello, Srinivas. They just say things like, I need a job and you need to help me. Well, that's not very nice on the receiving end. And you're not going to be the first person that Srinivas responds to, but instead, if you say, Srinivas, I saw the show you did with CAT BREET. It was really helpful. Thank you. I'd love to connect. He's probably going to say, oh, absolutely, accept. So focus on them, make it personal, get introductions when you can.
Very nice inputs. I mean, you just said it absolutely correct. When somebody says a message, positive things about you, you will, without knowing much, you may accept it and then try to respond. I agree. Everybody like to hear more about themselves, as you said, right?
It's true.
That's very nice. So
mention my zebra. I love it when people mention my zebra and say, so how old is Joe? So yeah, just grab something common ground. Oh, sorry, Srinivas, but one other thing I forgot to mention that is so important. Look for common ground. That's my secret. When I'm looking at somebody's profile, when Srinivas reached out to me on LinkedIn and asked me if I would consider being a guest, I immediately went to his profile and I was hunting for common ground. Oh, we've both been in recruiting. We've both been in technology. I immediately liked him. So find something that you have in common. It could be technology, industry, companies, mutual connections. It could be you studied psychology, anything. Okay.
Thank you for accepting and thank you for coming to the show, actually, to be honest with you. And many times, another challenge I see is in the business, when you first time you get lucky and you get connected, and say after that, it will be tough to sustain the relationship with the customer or a decision maker. So what do you, any inputs or insights on maintaining that relationship with the key individual or stakeholder?
Do you mean during the hiring process or once you've landed in a job?
Once you landed a job, or during the hiring process, also sometimes we initially will have interest. You can get their attention, and after down the line you lose some focus, and they will also lose interest in you.
Yes.
So those kind of things, yeah.
Yeah, so this is a balance. I think the question you're really asking me, well, you're asking a couple of questions. How to stay in touch with them, and the question you didn't ask, but it's the thing that stops people from staying in touch, is they're afraid of looking desperate or seeming aggressive. So I have answers on both fronts. So first of all, how often should you stay in touch? How can you stay in touch with them? During the hiring process, let me put it to you like this. If you have connected with them, if you've had a phone call or a video interview or any kind of meaningful connection with them, you moved past the strange candidate. You are now or applicant. You are now in their short list of candidates, and it's in their best interest to treat you well, and you deserve feedback. You deserve communication. You deserve feedback. So don't be afraid to ask for it. How much should you expect? It depends on what they said in their first conversation or the last conversation. You need to ask questions during the interview like, gosh, Srinivas, it's been great talking with you. I'm really excited about this opportunity. I'm just curious, how do I stack up against my competitors? Do you think I'm a good fit for this position? You get feedback. What are the next steps in the process? And if Srinivas says to you, we're going to make a decision in the next 3 days, well, by golly, you better follow up with them immediately. When you get off that video interview, you need to drop everything else and focus on what went well, what didn't do well, were there any areas of concern, and send a follow-up and say, thank you so much for the conversation. I'm really excited about the opportunity. Here's why, 2 or 3 things. Look forward to the next conversation. Once again, here are my full contact details, and shoot that off as an email. I don't like playing age, but let's be honest, recruiters in their 20s, many of them love communicating via text with candidates. Recruiters and hiring managers in their 40s, 50s, and older are not going to like it if you start pinging them on text. Just kind of stereotyping, but it's broad swath, general rule of thumb. Don't text people unless they start it. Email's usually best, or a LinkedIn message if that's how you've been communicating. So immediate thank you after the interview. And then from there, you have to ask yourself, what did they say? Are they making a decision this week? Did they say it's the holidays, we're not going to make a decision until mid-January? Okay. Then you send an immediate thank you and you touch base in 2 weeks and say, hi, just checking in on position, blah, blah, blah. Want to let you know I'm still interested. The third time you reach out during the hiring process, if you're getting ghosted and they stopped talking to you, there are actually 9 different reasons why that might be happening. They might have filled it. They also might have lost the funding. They might be busy with bigger fires. There are a lot of reasons why they go quiet. 3 times. You try to reach them 3 times. And the third time you reach out is where you get much more assertive. You're polite, you're professional, and you say, Renu, I hope you're having a great day. Just wanted to check in on job, blah, blah, blah. And you need to tell them which job you're interested in, because remember, recruiters have 30 or more jobs they're working on. They don't remember which job you interviewed for. And hiring managers are busy. So just checking in on job, blah, blah, blah. And if you have the requisition number, throw it in. Wanted to let you know I'm still interested. However, and this is the insider's secret, if it's your third time and they aren't responding to you, you put some pressure on them. And you say, however, I am talking to some other companies that are moving along faster. And you tell the truth. If you are expecting another offer, tell them that. I'm very interested. However, I have other companies that are going to be making me an offer this week. Is there any chance that we can pick up the phone, and if you're still interested in me, can we talk briefly? Because I would love to consider your position in addition to this other offer. That will wake them up to panic and say, oh no, I'm about to lose Roni. I better call him right now. So am I talking too much, Srinivas, or is this helpful?
No. That's the perfect scenarios. I mean, we see them on a daily basis. I mean, in the business. I mean, when the customer will be interested, but I mean, he was taking his own time. I mean, the moment you say we may lose him, they will come back and issue the offer letter within 1 day or 2 days. We've seen those scenarios, which is, you're right, absolutely right. You need, as you said rightly, you should not show you are desperate. I mean, you're desperate for the job. There's another thing. I mean, when you, as I heard from another conversations, or I read a book, at the negotiation table, you should always be in a position to lose it and walk out. If you are in that position, you will be able to negotiate better. But at the same time, you should not be adamant and stubborn and all those things. So we need to be careful when you're looking for a job. I mean, you cannot go with that attitude. But yeah, at the same time, you should not, as you said rightly in the beginning, you should not be desperate. That's another thing. Yeah.
Well, and I want to underscore what you said, Srinivas. What you need to understand when you're dealing with recruiters is that a lot of times they're doing a phenomenal job. Their clients have become unresponsive. So please do yourself and the people you're dealing with, the recruiters and the hiring managers, give them the gift of grace, assume good intentions. If you come at them, like Srinivas said, you're angry, you're irritated, you're desperate, you're done. The truth of the matter is, when they have 20 candidates to choose from and you're rude or desperate, you're not going to be the one that they are confident and comfortable putting forward to their clients. So just, you need to find a safe place to dump your frustrations and your anger and your sadness. You cannot bring it into the hiring process. I had a woman call me a few weeks ago who was desperate. Bless her heart. She's a single mom. She lost her job. She's about to lose her apartment. The engine dropped out of her car. Financially, she needs a job. And she said to me, can I tell them that so that they know that I'm going to show up for work every day? And I said, no, you cannot tell them that. Because employers, yes, they want to know that you want the job, but they want somebody who's going to enjoy the job and somebody who wants to work at their company and somebody who's still going to be there 1 year from now. If they get the sense that you're just desperate for a paycheck, their concern is going to be, you're just going to take the job and then quit for something else in a few weeks or a few months. So I couldn't resist underscoring your message there, because it's something that job seekers, unless they've been recruiters or hiring managers, they don't understand what it feels like on the other side.
You're right. You nailed it down. I mean, we're perfectly actually on this point. I know we are running. We have more points to cover. but I mean, sure, we'll take another time and we'll come back. And if you want to add the last thing, I mean, most of, in the middle age time, I mean, we do come to a situation where the company is changing the direction and the technologies are moving, or you're not productive. Sometimes the management may fail. So with those kind of scenarios, what kind of suggestions do you give to the people who are in the middle age and then trying to change their career or lose their job or trying to find another job?
Yeah, so surprise, surprise, I have another free resource for you if you are worried about losing your job, whether it's because of COVID or the pandemic or a bad boss, or let's tell the truth. All of us have awakened one day in a job that we either didn't like anymore or we were in over our head or what it happens. So whatever it is that is giving you anxiety and concern about losing your job, I published an article called 23 Signs That You're About to Lose Your Job, and I refreshed it for 2020, and it is also on my website. So if you go to ourbez.com, click on barking, and do a search for 23 signs, you will get that article that'll help you identify, are your concerns legitimate? And a lot of times, especially in this market, they are. So if you're worried about a layoff, I love that you are taking action right now. The truth of the matter is, it's easier to look for a job when you're working than it is after you've lost that paycheck and you're unemployed. So please, if you're afraid you might lose your job, take this weekend, carve out an hour or two, and start putting an action plan together. Update your resume. Start trying to figure out what your target job is and start doing the research and everything that we've talked about today. If you read my article, 23 Signs You're About to Get Laid Off, and you say, oh my gosh, I think it might happen, at the bottom of that article is a link. We actually have a course called Laid Off Now What? If you're interested, you can go out there. We've got a special right now, COVID 20. You can get 20% off. It's all about step one, taking a breath. Step two, figuring out what you need and what you want, that target job we talked about earlier. And then step three, just start talking to people. And if you are still working, it is very safe for you to have conversations with people on LinkedIn and in your network. It's not safe to say, I think I'm going to lose my job, I'm looking for a new job. Because what if you aren't about to lose your job and your current boss hears that you're looking for a new one? That's not good. So don't tell people you think you're going to lose your job. Tell people you're thinking about what's next in your career. There's a world of opportunity out there. You are just starting to explore what's possible, putting your market research hat on. And when you approach it like that, there's no pressure of getting fired because they find out you're looking for a job. People on the receiving end love giving career advice. They love helping people dream about the future, and they won't get any of that pressure of you need a new job. So just get curious and talk to people who are doing the work that you think you might want to do next, and then follow the rest of the steps that Srinivas and I talked about today.
Thank you very much for all the inputs and insights you've given. Any final words to the audience from your side?
Yes, final words. Listen, a career has highs and lows and everything in between. If you are in a low right now, if you've had a hard year, if you're having a hard time at work, number one, you're not alone. And number two, you will come out on the other side. You are smart, you are talented. I know that because if you're here watching this show, you know that you need to learn from other people. And that just tells me a lot about you. You can do this. You are not alone. But you just have to put that next step in front. Just take the next small step, and you will find what you're looking for.
Thank you very much for coming out of the show, Ms. Catherine Breet, and we have a nice rest of the day, and wish you all the best in whatever you do.
You too. Thank you so much, Srinivas and team. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.